do want to thank the Represent Us team for this. This is extraordinary. Josh and I have been collaborating for a while, and years ago when we started working together, he said, man, we got to hold a big conference. And I said, what, like 500 people, 300 people? He's like, yeah, that sounds good. Well, guys, this started, we share staff with the Represent Us folks in Washington. This started at 500 people, and then I would talk to them a couple weeks later. They're like, yeah, we're at about 800 now. A couple weeks later, 1,000. 1,500 people, folks. This is amazing. This is amazing. Now, the other Josh that I got to point to here is this guy, Josh Lynn. This guy is a volcano of creative energy. He is a marketing genius. He's the reason why you're wearing yellow and black, okay? If not for him, this cause would not be as cool as it's becoming, as culturally cool as it's becoming. So we owe a great debt of gratitude to this guy right here. So I'm going to be a little bit old school because I wrote something down. To prove how old I am, by the way, I was sitting down there with my legs crossed, and the one that was crossed fell asleep while I was sitting. This is what happens in middle age. Guys, this is our moment, okay? This is our moment. We are just crossed the threshold from being a group of people who care a lot about these process issues into the spotlight. Marshall McLuhan, back in the 1960s, coined the phrase, the medium is the message. Right now, folks, the system is the subject. The system is the subject. And that is exactly what we're focused on. It's as if all of a sudden the collective American mind is shifting from the most famous sentence in the Declaration of Independence to the next one. You guys know all the most famous one is, right? The life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Who knows the next one? Anyone?
Security, rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers and necessity of government.
You got it. So that's the first half of the next sentence. This was, by the way, this was Jefferson abusing the semicolon. Because the sentence goes on that whenever any yes, alter or abolish it, and institute new government, laying its foundation and principles, organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and their happiness. He's a walking Google. Imagine if he was your dad. It'd be so discouraging. Just be like... So there it is, guys. Embedded in that second long sentence after the one about the pursuit of happiness is perhaps the greatest American right of all. The greatest American right of all. When any form of government becomes destructive, it is our right to alter it or abolish it. To alter it, folks. That's what we're talking about right now. We might get to the point in 10 or 15 years where we get to the abolish part, but let's focus on the alter part for right now. That is as much a part of the American creed as so many of the freedoms that we so often enumerate. Remember, the Bill of Rights is the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. The Constitution is about giving us the right to a democratic republic. And right now, folks, it's not just that we are entering the threshold onto the national stage. The stakes are higher than that. We're entering onto the global stage. And the reason why is because I believe that we are entering a period of American history in which there is going to be an intense standoff between authoritarianism and democracy. When Josh and I were getting out of college, you guys will remember it was, well, some of you don't necessarily remember. You were like kids then. But when I was getting out of college, it was, this guy, Francis Fukuyama, had come out with this book, The End of History. And what it posited was that, not that the world was going to end, but that we were done sorting through the political and economic models that would guide humanity. That capitalism and democracy were the victors, the Berlin Wall was coming down, the Soviet Union was cracking up, capitalism and democracy were the twin sisters, and they were going to march forward and take over history. There was no question in most people's minds, Americans' minds in the early 90s, that was the case. That, as we all know, as we can all feel in our bones, and as we see on the television set, that is no longer the case. Oppressive regimes, authoritarian regimes, are taking over. There's a backsliding. We have been in a decade now, according to Freedom House, a decade now of a democracy recession. And when we see countries like China and Russia consolidating political, geographic, and money power as quickly as they are and oppressing their citizens at the same time, guys, this is a big fight. For those of you who are Rocky fans, you'll remember in Rocky IV, he fought this guy named Ivan Drago, who was the stoic, badass Russian. That's where we are, folks. It is us versus Ivan Drago, and we got to win, and you all are Rocky, okay? So let me say one more thing. This is serious stuff. This is getting really serious in a good way. I would also say that this is a proud burden of being American. This is a proud burden that we have of being Americans. In many other democracies, they don't sit around and do what we're doing. They don't feel the burden of carrying the torch of democracy like we do here. This is what we do in this country, and this burden was baked in from the get-go of our country. One of my favorite Thomas Paine lines from Common Sense, and by the way, Common Sense, I don't know if you guys know this, Common Sense outsold the Bible during the Revolutionary War. It outsold the Bible during the Revolutionary War. Here's a great Tom Paine line. The cause of America is indeed, in great measure, the cause of all humankind. Many circumstances have and will arise which are not local but universal, and through which the principles of all lovers of humanity are affected. Guys, our cause is universal. This is a universal moment. And in addition to the many great groups here and the grassroots supporters that you all have, this fight is being enjoined at the top. This is another sign that things are getting serious, that this is a great moment. We at Issue One have recruited almost 200 former members of Congress to join this fight. This is not just a paper tiger group. These people work for us. They do a lot of stuff for us. Let me just give you some of the names because they couldn't be here, but they are with us, okay? Some surprising names. In addition to Zach Wamp. By the way, does everyone love Zach Wamp? Here's some other names, guys. Former Congressman and Ambassador to India, Tim Romer. The former Republican head of the CIA, Porter Goss. The former Democratic head of the CIA, Leon Panetta. The former head of Homeland Security, Tom Ridge, a Republican governor. Former Congressman and head of Department of Agriculture, Dan Glickman. No booze? No booze. How about Deval Patrick, governor of Democrat governor, Massachusetts? Yeah, there we go. Of course. Connie Morella, a Republican? No? Okay. She's okay. Sue Myrick, she was the head of the Republican Study Group in Congress, very conservative woman from North Carolina. Anyone? No? Maybe? Okay. All right, the list goes on and on. Lions of the Senate like Jack Danforth, Dick Lugar, Olympia Snowe. We also have been recruiting generals recently who understand that America's national security, that the greatest risk to our national security right now is the breakdown of our democracy. So we have worked with Generals Jim Jones and the former head of the Army, John McHugh, who are standing up and saying, if we don't get our democracy right, our national security is at risk. So a lot of those folks are formers, but you're about to hear from some current members. There is great leadership emerging on Capitol Hill. Back in October, a caucus was formed, bipartisan caucus on the House side. It now has 22 members in it, 11 Republicans, 11 Democrats. It is the first ever bipartisan caucus dedicated to our issues, guys. This is serious stuff, okay? This is happening on the Hill. So let me leave you with this. Martin Luther King once said to his troops, when all of a sudden things were getting serious for them too, getting serious for them in a good way, like they're getting serious for us right now, he said, quote, "We are now faced with the fact that tomorrow is today. We are confronted with the fierce urgency of now. In this unfolding conundrum of life and history, there is such a thing as being too late. This is no time for apathy or complacency. This is a time for vigorous and positive action." Folks, tomorrow is today. Tomorrow is today, okay?